The sandwich generation refers to the 20 million Americans who are taking care of both their parents and the children. My next guest recently opened up their lives and souls as they documented their experiences as part of the sandwich generation. I was blown away at how empty and selfish the snapshot of my own life seemed next to the fullness and sacrifice in their movie as I watched it today on mediastorm.org. Check it out if you haven't. Joining me now is freelance writer and documentary film producer Julie Winokur and her husband, National Geographic photojournalist Ed Cashy. Thanks, guys, for being here today. First off, I'm sorry for your loss. I saw in the second DVD that you followed up on that your father actually passed away, and I'm sorry to see that. But, on all of this, it was such a moving thing. Can you just sort of open up and sort of tell people what the movie is about first, and then we'll sort of delve into the discussion.
We moved from San Francisco to New Jersey to take care of my father 3 years ago. He had dementia, and at the time he was 82 years old. I'm trying to remember now. It's a bit of a blur, but it was a very intense couple of years having him live with us, and then he passed away just 3 weeks ago. And you have 2 children also, right? And so it's sort of the sandwich generation, meaning that you're taking care of what's above and what's below. And 20 million Americans, and my executive producer Terry Baker's talked about this in his own life, and it is a major thing in America, and it's a demographic that needs to be paid attention to. Like, what are the social consciousness things that we're supposed to walk away with on this? Well, everybody's going to get old, and, in our peer group, everybody's having to deal with their parents and trying to figure out what are you going to do when your parents start to fail? How are you going to manage it? And for me, I didn't want to get a phone call in the middle of the night that my father had had a stroke, and I'm racing home on a red eye, cross country, and juggling my kids on the West Coast, my father on the East Coast. So, this is a situation that's hitting every single family in this country in some way, shape, or form.
Thankfully, both.
Also, we were in a unique situation because because we're journalists, that's how we really were enlightened to realize this is what we needed to do.
Well, and you've just done something on aging, right? I mean, you've done an entire project that was also, I looked at that today, and it was absolutely fascinating, too. And not just that, though. I mean, you've toured the whole world doing, photojournalism and exposing all kinds of evils and everything. And that's sort of where I was wondering about this one. Like, was this one just sort of even just an internal thing that you were sort of processing in your own?
After we had done our project Aging in America, which was a book and a film and an exhibition, then we had to stop and say, well, what are we doing about our own lives? It's one thing to talk the talk, and it's another to walk the walk. So we really hit that wall when my father started to show signs of dementia. And we said it's one thing to go out and tell people what's a good old age, what's good caregiving, and then it's another to live it. So we took the high road.
Well, and what I was going to say a moment ago is thankfully both my parents are very healthy, and, but the fact is, they're in New Mexico, and I'm out here. I don't have any family out here, and that, that's something that weighs on my soul a lot. And I look at your guys' film, and it's sort of rung home, and I miss my family so much. And it's sort of the important point. It's that family is so important. This show is all about business, and we're always talking about Wall Street and making money, but your guys' point really drove home is that it's not just about the money. You've got to take care of the loved ones, too.
Yeah. Well, it requires a lot of sacrifice, and what is hard is that our society is not organized in a way to teach us to do these things.
Right, and so again, it's like we sort of have a platform here to help teach people. What are the important lessons that we are supposed to know?
Well, boy, I think what I've learned is that it's really important to stay close to family. Unless you have an absolutely horrible situation. Right,
which sometimes you do have to leave from,
abusive or whatever. That's something different. But barring that, I think what you realize as you get older is that we need each other, And I'll tell you, it's not just family. It can also be seen as a broader community, And I think that what's amazing about America is we, at the same time where we lose tradition and we lose a connection to our past, we seem to recreate things and regenerate new ways of doing things.
Constantly creating a new culture of our own, right?
Yeah, and the economic aspect of this is so critical because I think that's what puts this out of reach for so many people, and who might even want to take care of ailing relatives,
Well, thank you both so much, and best of luck to all of it. Thank you so much. Tracy.
I want to call my mom and tell her I love her.
Do so tonight. Everybody watching, call your mom and tell her you love her.
All right, well, happy hour is on its way to Arizona. Bye, Beck. Have a safe flight.